Ever get mesmerized by like you know those lava lamps?
Mm.
The way they kind of like bubble and flow is like completely random,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
But like also kind of mesmerizing. Well, today we're diving into a world where even tinier things, particles of light we call photons, are doing their own kind of mesmerizing dance of chaos.
And it's funny you should say mesmerizing because even though we can't, just kick back with some popcorn and watch these photons in action,
Right.
the patterns they create are just as captivating. And maybe even more so because, they're like revealing these hidden truths about the universe itself.
I love how you put that. And we're talking specifically about coupled photonic crystal nanocavities. Now, I know that sounds a little intimidating, like something straight out of Star Trek, but bear with us because this is where things get really cool. Imagine, if you will, tiny mirrors.
Hmm.
And I mean TINY, like so small you could fit millions of them on the head of a pin.
Wow.
And these aren't your average mirrors either. These nanocavities, they're specially designed to trap light, forcing individual photons to interact in these, oh man, incredibly complex and surprising ways.
It's almost like a miniature laser light show happening on a scale, like you said, we can barely even fathom.
Exactly. So we've got these photons, these tiny packets of light energy bouncing around inside these meticulously crafted cavities. But like, what's the big deal? Why should we care about what these little guys are up to?
Well, the thing is, these seemingly simple systems, these coupled cavities, they actually mirror behaviors we see in like wildly different areas of physics. I mean, we're talking about systems like ultra cold atoms, and these operate on, completely different scales, totally different principles.
So it's like these tiny photons, they're giving us this little sneak peek into some kind of universal rule book for chaos, some sort of set of guidelines that apply to everything, from the smallest particles to the largest structures in the
You
universe.
got it. It's like these photons, they're whispering secrets about the like fundamental nature of chaos itself.
Okay, this is already blowing my mind. So how do we even begin to decode these whispers? How do we make sense of this chaotic dance of photons?
That is where things get even more intriguing. Scientists, they've developed a model to try to describe this system. It's a bit of a mouthful, though. It's called the driven dissipative.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on. Don't throw us into the deep end just yet.
Laughs.
Okay, good. I was starting to think I needed a PhD in physics just to follow along. So, driven dissipative, what does that even mean in this context?
Right, think of it this way, okay? You know those mornings where you're trying to have that relaxing bath,
Oh, yeah.
but the water just will not stay hot?
Well,
You're constantly battling the drain, right? So that's kind of what's happening in our system. Driven means we're like constantly pumping energy, in the form of light into those nanocavities. And then dissipative means that some of that energy is, well, it's naturally being lost. It's dissipating, just like the heat escaping from your bathtub.
so it's like trying to keep that bathtub full while the drain is open. You need this constant flow to maintain the balance, right?
Exactly.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture. But what about the rest of the name? Because we've still got that two-site Bose-Hubbard dimers part to unpack.
Right, right. Well, that part tells us a bit more about like the players in this whole chaotic dance. Two-site just means we're dealing with two of these nanocavities. Two little stages for our photons to perform on. Bose-Hubbard refers to, it's a very specific type of mathematical model that physicists use to describe particles, like photons.
Okay, so no need to like delve into the nitty-gritty of Bose and Hubbard right now. We can just keep going.
Yeah, yeah, no. Just know that it basically helps us describe how our photons are interacting with each other and with the cavities themselves.
That's it.
And then lastly, that dimer at the end that just emphasizes that these two cavities aren't just doing their own thing. They're linked, they're in a relationship, they're like constantly influencing each other's behavior.
So it's like we've got these two Gantt floors, these cavities all lit up and pulsing with energy, and our photons are flitting between them, their moves influenced by the music, the lights, and even the other dancers around them.
A fantastic analogy, yeah.
I like that. I like that. And just like any good dance, things are about to get a whole lot more interesting. So we've got our two dance floors, our linked cavities, and all these photons are moving and grooving to this energy exchange. This is where things get really, really interesting, right?
Right. We've got like the basic setup, but now imagine a DJ comes along, right?
Okay. Okay, I like where this is going.
And they start like messing with the control. A little more bass here, a touch more treble there, and these subtle tweaks, these changes to the system's parameters, that's where the real magic of chaos kicks in.
I can already sense things are about to get a whole lot more unpredictable. So, like, what kind of DJ tweaks are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Well, in the context of our nanocavities, we could be talking about something as simple as like adjusting the intensity of the light we're pumping in, like
Yeah.
turning up the brightness of those laser lights on our, metaphorical dance floor.
Or maybe even, like, changing the distance between the cavities themselves, like
Yeah.
sliding those dance floors a little closer together, further apart.
Exactly. Even the smallest adjustments, just like that, they can lead to like these huge shifts in the way these photons are behaving. It's like the music changed and suddenly the whole vibe on the dance floor is different.
And these shifts, these turning points, these moments where the system goes from, like, predictable to totally chaotic, those are what we call bifurcations, right?
You got it. Bifurcations, they're like those forks in the road where the system has to like decide which path it's going to take.
Yeah.
And just like in those, choose your own adventure books you read as a kid, sometimes even the smallest decision can lead to a completely different outcome.
Okay, so bifurcations, those forks in the road, they can throw our photons into a tailspin. But I'm seeing some pretty wild names for different types of bifurcations in these research papers.
Mm.
I mean, we're talking pitchfork, saddle node, Andronoff-Hoff. It's like a whole new vocabulary for chaotic dance moves.
I like that. Each of those names, it describes a different way the system can branch off, a different type of fork in the road.
So walk us through it. What's a pitchfork bifurcation? Does it
Yes.
does it involve, like, actual pitchforks? Because it sounds a little dangerous on an already chaotic dance floor.
It's real. No pitchforks involved, thankfully. Okay, so imagine this. The system starts out in a stable state. Like our photons are all doing the same, like synchronized dance move.
Okay.
But then we tweak a parameter, we nudge the energy input just a tiny bit, and bam! Suddenly the system, it splits. So instead of one stable state, we've got 3 possible states.
So instead of everyone doing the same, like, synchronized dance move, now we've got 3 different groups, each doing their own thing.
Exactly. And that pitchfork part, it refers to the way these new states, they branch off from the original stable state, like the prongs of a fork.
Okay, that makes sense. What about the saddle node bifurcation? That one sounds a little less like dancing and more like, well, horseback riding.
Okay, I see where you're coming from. Imagine trying to balance a marble on, like, a saddle. It's tricky, right? So that marble, that represents the system's state. Now, in a saddle node bifurcation, 2 equilibrium points, one stable, one unstable, like picture 2 points on our saddle, they approach each other.
So one point where the marble could balance, even if it's a little wobbly, and one where it's just destined to roll off.
Precisely. And these 2 points, they come closer and closer and closer until, bam, they collide and they disappear. Poof, gone. It's like the saddle suddenly morphs, leaving our marble with nowhere to go but tumble off.
Wow, that's a pretty dramatic way for our photons to lose their balance. Okay, so we've got pitchforks, we've got saddle nodes. What about the Andronoff-Hoff? That one sounds a bit more, I don't know, sophisticated.
Laughs. Well, it does have a certain ring to it. The Andronoff-Hoff bifurcation, that's where things get really dynamic. Okay, picture this. Instead of our photons settling into a stable state or, being knocked off balance, they start oscillating.
So instead of doing one dance move or suddenly switching to another, they're now, grooving to a continuous rhythm.
Precisely. The Andronoff-Hoff bifurcation, it creates what we call a limit cycle, which is like a closed loop in the system's behavior. It's like our photons are now like waltzing around the dance floor, never quite settling in one spot, but also never spinning out of control.
So we've gone from synchronized moves to multiple dance groups to a full-blown waltz. Chaos seems to have a thing for rhythm, but how do we go from these abstract ideas, these dance moves, to actually seeing this chaos unfold?
That's where the beauty of mathematics and visualization comes in. We can actually represent all of this visually. We can turn those equations and concepts into these stunning images that help us wrap our minds around the chaos in all its glory.
Okay, now that's something I can get behind. Show us the pictures.
Right.
Right, so we're about to step into this art gallery where the masterpieces are, well, they're all about chaos. So what kind of visual wonders are we talking about here?
Okay, imagine swirling patterns, like spirals within spirals, like you're looking into a kaleidoscope of chaotic energy.
Well,
Yeah, so these visualizations, they're generated by feeding our equations into these powerful computers, and they show us the intricate dance of those photons in ways, honestly, we could never even grasp just by staring at numbers all day.
so each point on these visual maps, each twist and turn, that represents a different state of our coupled cavities, right? A snapshot of the photon's chaotic choreography.
You got it. Okay.
And these visuals, they reveal these hidden connections, these patterns within the chaos that, we wouldn't see otherwise. For example, you might see areas where the patterns converge, like popular spots on a dance floor where the energy is just its most intense. And then you might see these regions where the patterns diverge, and that signifies those unpredictable shifts and bifurcations we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. It's like watching a time lapse of that dance floor, seeing how the energy ebbs and flows and shifts throughout the night. Yeah, exactly. And just like a choreographer uses a specific language of movement to create a dance, right? Well, scientists use tools like kneading sequences to kind of decode the patterns within these chaotic systems.
Kneading sequences. Okay, hold on. Like kneading bread dough. What does that have to do with photons?
It's not about bread dough, but it is about revealing these hidden patterns. Okay, so imagine like assigning a simple symbol, like a 0 or a 1, to different regions on those visual maps we talked about.
Okay.
So a kneading sequence is just a string of these symbols, and it tells us how the system like moves between those regions over time.
So it's like we're translating the photon's complex dance moves into this code, a sequence of zeros and ones that kind of reveals the underlying rhythm of the chaos.
Exactly. And what's so fascinating is that even within these seemingly random sequences, we often find these hidden patterns, these subtle repetitions and these rules that they hint at this deeper order beneath the surface of the chaos.
It's like realizing that even the most chaotic dance routine still has this underlying structure, this choreography that makes it so captivating to watch.
Oh, absolutely. And speaking of captivating patterns, we have to talk about one more visualization that honestly it sends shivers down my spine every time I see it. The spiked Cantor staircase.
Okay, I'll admit that name sounds a little intimidating, like something out of a Gothic novel. Is this staircase like haunted?
Sus. Not haunted, but definitely awe-inspiring. Okay, so imagine a staircase, right? But not your typical staircase. This one, it has infinitely many steps, but some steps are missing. And it creates this fragmented, almost like ethereal pattern.
So it's like someone took a jackhammer to a perfectly good staircase and just left behind this strange and beautiful mess.
In a way, yeah. But this mess, it actually reveals something really profound about the nature of chaos. We see this staircase emerge when we track a specific characteristic of our system, like, say, the intensity of the light in one of those cavities, and we track it over time.
So the height of each step represents the light intensity at a given moment, and those missing steps represent those sudden like jumps and dips, those moments of chaos that we see in these systems.
You got it. The spiked Cantor staircase is just this powerful reminder that even in the midst of chaos, there's this underlying order, this delicate balance between predictability and randomness. We see these stable periods, those steps, but they're always punctuated by these sudden, unpredictable shifts.
It's like realizing that life itself is a bit of a spiked Cantor staircase. Like we have those periods of stability, those moments where we feel like we're on solid ground, and then life throws us a curveball, a missing step, and suddenly we're tumbling into the unknown.
What a beautiful way to put it. We started this deep dive with like these tiny, tiny particles of light dancing on these microscopic stages. Who knew that, by exploring their chaotic ballet, we'd uncover these insights that like resonate with the human experience on like such a fundamental level.
This has been an incredible journey. We've explored these intricate equations, visualized these stunning patterns, and we even climbed a spiked Cantor staircase. All in the name of understanding the captivating chaos of coupled photonic crystal nanocavities.
We've seen that chaos, it isn't just about disorder. It isn't just about unpredictability, right? It's about this delicate interplay between order and randomness. It's about the beauty that emerges when systems are pushed to their limits.
And I think perhaps most importantly, we've learned that even in the seemingly random fluctuations of these tiny, tiny particles of light, there are these echoes of the same patterns and principles that govern our own lives, our own chaotic and beautiful journeys through the universe.